Welcome to Financial Focus, brought to you by GulfCoast Financial Services founder and CEO, John Kuykendall. John and his team of financial, legal, and tax professionals have provided North Florida savers and investors sound, comprehensive financial guidance for over 25 years, helping you to achieve important life and planning goals. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more Financial Focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net.
And welcome into the program. This is Financial Focus, brought to you by the best of the best in financial services, as named by the Lake City Reporter. 6 years and running now, John. That's a pretty big tip of the cap to the job that you and your team do there at Gulf Coast Financial.
Well, thank you, Peter. We're really excited about that and privileged and honored to have that honor. And, there are so many other advisors in town that people could go to. We're just really excited that we got selected for that. And we've had it for a number of years. It just kind of goes to the dedicated staff I've got that take care of all the people that come in. We go above and beyond if we can. We call Social Security, we call Medicare, we work you through your problems. We try to do everything we can to eliminate and to help the client and the people coming in get through life. It isn't easy. I often said that retirement would be easy, but there's nothing easy about retirement because everything is more difficult for some reason. And it seems like just about the time you get everything situated with Social Security or Medicare, some blip happens and you got to go back and fight again, So I wish I'd have known. I wish somebody would have told me before I was 65, all the things that I know now that we're trying to impart on our clients and the people we deal with. It's just amazing to me, the lack of knowledge we had 7, 8 years ago.
Well, John, as you were speaking there, kind of two sayings came to mind. One is, if you're going to get old, you got to be tough. And the other is, it's better to work smarter, not harder. And so maybe we can get around the being tough part with a little smarter planning. And that's what we're trying to do these days. And that's what you and your team at Gulf Coast Financial Services do, is help people plan smarter for their financial future and have that financial focused plan for retirement. Today, another resource that you make available, a great list, kind of a checklist for people to go down. And we covered one checklist last week of 12 questions to answer to know if you're prepared to retire. Not a whole lot of the math behind it, though. And I think this list goes into a little bit more of the math, the process of figuring out financially, am I truly prepared? What do I need? How do I have it positioned to support me in retirement? So 10 steps to prepare for retirement, and another list that, John, you make available if somebody wants to go to the website or give you guys a call to
Sure.
request this list. They can go over on their own, but you also can help them formulate answers to these questions.
Oh, sure. We'd be glad to sit down with them and go over these answers, or to Zoom meeting with them, online, telephone call, whatever they want. Certainly, sometimes it helps just to have somebody kind of help you walk through this thing. But, the first one where it talks about number one was define your budget. And what we're looking at there, Peter, is we're taking our anticipated monthly expenses with a line item budget. And then I'm going back and looking at my checkbook for the last couple of years to make sure that I've got, because things are seasonal. And sometimes we have, the electricity bill is more in the summer than it is in the winter, hopefully. And different things like that. So you want to make sure you got those covered and you're not just averaging it. You know what I mean?
John, I'm chuckling over on this side. I handle more of the budgeting in my household. And it's funny because I sit down and I've got all of our bills and expenses kind of mapped out on my spreadsheet. And at the bottom of that spreadsheet, there's this number there. And I'm like, well, this is what we need in order to make it through the month. And then I go to our bank statements and I'm like, why did we spend twice that? How did that happen? And I think that is, that's lifestyle. That's the things that we do over and above just meeting the bills and the bare essentials. But that's really more of the number that we need to define when we're talking about a budget for retirement, right?
Well, yeah, we're still going to have things over and above necessities. I mean, you're going to still buy clothes. You're going to go out to eat. You're going to do things. You're going to go play golf. So we need to make sure that we've got that included. Our extra expenses, if you like boating and your boat has certain expenses, you need to include those in the line item. And unfortunately, a lot of people
When
don't.
do boats not have extra expenses? That's what
Well,
I
that's
wonder.
true. Yeah. The two best times in a boat owner's life, the day he bought it, the day he sold it.
Yep, that's right. Bust out another 1,000. Define your sources of guaranteed income is kind of your next step. Okay, we've defined our budget, how much
Mhm.
we are spending. Now, this is beginning the process of where's that money going to come from once we retire?
Right. Well, right. Because, the thing about it is I don't have a paycheck anymore. So how am I going, what's my guaranteed budget? How much is coming in each month that I can count on? My Social Security. Now, we can't count on a lot of adjustments to Social Security like we did in the past. I mean, the cost of living increases in Social Security are basically non-existent. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to keep up with inflation. So we can put down how much we're getting now, but I would never include more of it. And then what else am I know that I'm going to get? How much, do I have annuities? Do I have a pension? How much of that money can I count on for my everyday expenses and my living expenses that I know I've got that I don't have to live on my portfolio?
Do you see, John, that this area in planning is really, it's come down significantly and diminishing as part of retirement sources of guaranteed income, how much people want to count and rely on them, or how much they have on that side of the ledger is decreasing, which ultimately doesn't that put more emphasis and
Yeah.
reliance on our personal assets that we have built up?
Unfortunately, ever since we went away from the defined benefit plans and we started the 401ks back in the 80s, the people with pensions have gotten smaller and smaller. So you're either a government worker or you have, some type of state retirement or whatever. Most everybody else has 401ks. And even some of the states are going more to 401ks than they are to defined benefit plans. So yes, I see that as a problem. And what we try to do is figure out a way we can make some of that up. I don't want to have to rely on the market for all of my income. That's the worst thing we can do. And we've proven that, the new, thanks to computers and all the new mathematical formulas, we've proven that we can't count on a guaranteed 4% forever from the market, with our longevity being as long as it is. So we have to have more types of defined of permanent income, predictable, sustainable income coming in.
Well, if we need to then generate the rest of that from our personal assets, John, we really need to know how much that's going to be. And so the next step is kind of define the income gap. That is how much our personal savings
Mhm.
is going to be responsible for in supporting our lifestyle and paying for our expenses, right?
Yeah, once we take that guaranteed income and subtract that from our budget, then we're our expenses, then we're going to know what that income gap is. Now, when I look at that income gap, I've got to come up with a realistic number that I can withdraw from my account. So my assets, my investment accounts, so that I know that I'm not going to drain them faster than they're able to build. I mean, that's the last thing we want to do is have our growth bucket be depleted because we're taking more out of it than it's able to generate by going back in. So that's one of the reasons that we like this income plan so much is we're going to give you a realistic number that we can use from that growth bucket, and more and more on the predictable income and how we can get you more income coming in that we know we're going to have.
Now a couple additional steps go in here. One is we can't have a conversation about retirement without including the one source of guaranteed retirement income that we do have, Social Security. You talked about it. We want to strategize to make the most of that. And then once we have done that, as well as if we are lucky enough to have a pension, maximized that as well, then we put the pen to paper, and we formulate that written retirement income plan.
Yeah. And that income plan is going to tell us how long our money is going to last based upon where we are um, with the money we need coming out, how long that's going to last. And we're looking at working it out to age 90. We don't want to have anybody have a shortfall. I'd rather you die with a little extra money than you to live too long and have no money. And we're going to look at both spouses. So we're going to tell you, if you're married, your wife dies, this is what happens to you. And if he dies, then that's what happens to her. We're going to make sure that we take the Social Security out for one of them. We're even going so far right now as to looking at, okay, how does the plan work if Social Security gets cut? Because right now, before the end of 2030 or
Well, they've been
2020,
talking about it, right? We've got to address that.
76 cents on the dollar is what certain people are going to get. Now, and unfortunately, I think that's going to be a majority of us. Now, you can say, well, they're not going to do that. But I got to tell you, during the Carter administration, they came out with notched Social Security. And what they did was they went in and notched out 5 years and said, okay, those people, no matter how much income they've got, they're going to get 75 cents on the dollar. Yeah. So, I mean, it's been done before.
Yeah.
So,
and if you look at some of the other things that they've done before, I mean, Social Security used to not be taxable as income. Now it is 50% of it, 85% of it, depending on how much other income you have.
Right.
They could easily just make it 100% taxable.
Well, sure.
Full retirement age used to be 65. Now it's 67. They could certainly move that up. These are things that they have done before. If they've done them before, I have to believe, John, that they're kind of pre-inclined that these are the solutions that we have available to us. Let's just do that again.
Yeah.
So,
well, you got to remember, we're living longer, so people are able to work a little longer than we used to. So you remember back in the old days when you reached 65, if you worked for a corporation, you had to leave. That was your exit date. And I remember my father-in-law, he got to be 65 and they had a big retirement party for him. And it wasn't an option. Well, do you want to go? Or, are you ready? It was, okay, here's the door. Here's your go watch. And, we'll see you later. So I can see them changing the full retirement age to 72 or maybe even 75. There's some talk about, stretching the minimum distributions to 75 now instead of 72. So I can see Social Security kind of going with that. So there are a lot of things on the table that we have to look at when we put this plan together, and we try to include all those, as well as understanding your risk exposure. That's the sleep at night number, I call it. And we want to make sure that you have the appropriate amount of risk, but you're not overexposed to any segment of the market.
I know that it's different for every investor. The risk tolerance number is different, but even those that are self-proclaimed aggressive investors, if you put it to them like this, next year when we have a conversation and the market's down 50%, how much of your portfolio do you want to have lost? Like, does the answer come back? Well, probably not half of my money. I probably don't want to have lost that much. Do you ever have those conversations, John?
Oh yeah, we have them all the time. We get a guy who comes in or a woman who comes in, they're aggressive. And, I had one of my older clients who I love to death. She wanted to buy Bank of America stock and she just had to have this stock. And I said, we really don't want to do that. No, I got to have it. I want you to buy it. So we bought it. It immediately lost money. It's been down ever since she bought it. And so she decided that she wasn't as risky as she thought she was because she was losing principal. And so that was her goal. Was she didn't think it could go down. She just thought she was going to buy it and it was going to go up. And nobody likes to lose money. I don't care who they are, how aggressive they are. And so we have that talk with them all the time, Peter. It's you have to keep them in the road. You don't want them veering off on the forks and you don't want them going over the cliff. So you try to kind of keep them in the middle of the road.
I drove one time out west in Wyoming in the winter during a snowstorm, and every 50 yards or so they have these two sticks on the side of the road, and at first I wondered what they were for, and then it started snowing and I said, aha, those sticks tell me where the road is. I got to keep it between the sticks. Uh,
You know it, man.
Yep.
That was so you could stay on the road. There's nothing
Yep.
worse than almost running off the mountain.
In the middle of nowhere too. I tell
Yeah.
you what, there would have been nothing around for me to go to. Anyway, John, another thing that people are sort of worried about the sticks veering off course here, taxes.
Mm.
We can calculate taxes as tax laws stand today is got to be kind of the asterisks that we place on that statement, because those laws are bound to change into the future. I mean, they're talking about an awful lot of changes to tax laws right now.
Oh, there's no way, Peter, that with the debt that this country has, that we can keep taxes low. I mean, somebody has to pay, and it can't be all the millionaires because there aren't that many of them. So it comes down to a situation where everybody eventually will be paying more. And so we try to plan that. We look at their taxes. We advise them during the year if they need it. We get them in before the end of the year and work on taxes. So taxes are a big part of retirement and a major expense right along with healthcare. So we want to make sure that we're doing the best job we can in the taxes, and we want to do some tax planning so that if we can do some Roth conversions or something else that we can do, we want to get that out of the way before those tax laws change.
Probably a big area where the fact that you've got the sister company Gulf Coast Tax Advantage, you have an advantage in helping your saver and investor clients make sure they're keeping more of their money.
Well, we do. We have a tax software that we use to analyze their taxes and tell them where they are. And if they're wanting, if they want to draw more money out, we can tell them. I always give the example of the lady last year that wanted to take out 10,000 for shrubs at the end of the year. It was like November, but it was going to cost her 4,000 in taxes to get the 10. Mm-hmm. So we like our clients to know that. We want to make sure that we run that by them. And if she waits to January, it's a whole new year. We got a better chance of not paying that tax.
Maybe strategize in that case, take 5 out this year and 5 out next year and reduce that tax bill. Only pay half of what we might have otherwise paid. It's things like that, though, ladies and gentlemen, that you have the advantage of the professionals there at Gulf Coast Financial Services, Gulf Coast Tax Advantage, working together to help you spot and identify where you can be more efficient. Again, these 10 steps to make sure that you are prepared for retirement. This is the math behind it. You can think about these, but you need to go into the planning process to really understand the math and make sure that you continue to be efficient as possible with your money. The next one on the list, though, John, it sort of surprised me at first glance. We always hear about diversification, diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. And yet this lists consolidate like qualified accounts. Where does that contradict, or where does that not contradict with the fact that we should be diversified?
Well, when we talk about not having all of our eggs in one basket, I think what we're talking about is we don't want to have all of our money in one sector. We don't want to have all growth funds. We don't want to have all tech funds, all real estate. What we're talking about doing is diversifying among many sectors to make sure our risk tolerance is where we want it. When we're talking about consolidating, what we're doing is we're taking these accounts that are somewhere else that the fees may be higher on, and also the ones that you're not watching and you're not monitoring, and we're bringing those into a pool. And then when we get them in the pool, we're able to allocate them out with the proper allocation so that we know you are totally diversified. If you've got 2 or 3 accounts and I only have access to one of them, then I only know what's in my account. I may overweight you here, and you're also overweighted. So in another account. So I can understand that. And I think that by consolidating those, you're going to get a much better picture.
I had an acquaintance that had to take over his mother's financial affairs. And when he did, he found 24 CDs that were just sort of scattered around, none of them earning more than 0.35%. So, consolidating those, John, maybe
Mhm.
repositioning them.
Mhm.
When he did that, he was able to get a much better rate of return and keep track of things a whole lot easier. I think if nothing else, maybe just the paperwork clutter
Yeah.
was
Oh, yeah.
diminished and able to keep track of things. All
Well,
right.
the thing was that was her social event,
Yeah,
was going
it
to the
was.
bank and
Yeah.
renewing those CDs, meeting the teller and meeting the new accounts person and interaction. He didn't have time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she had notes. Very nice teller helped me with this one. So yeah, there's consolidating things can be just a matter of housekeeping a little bit and
Yeah.
keeping things nice and neat and easy to keep track of. You don't have to sacrifice diversification or the goals that we have
No,
with our money.
no.
Consider inflation is on the
Mhm.
list. Certainly something that we can say is important right now. And then John, reviewing and updating those legal documents also going to be vitally important to prepare for retirement.
Well, Peter, actually, I think the last one's the most important. One of the things I find is that probably very few of the people we meet with actually have their legal documents up to date or even have any. And you know that when we die intestate, it creates a lot of problems for the family and for the survivors. So what we want to do is we want to make sure they have at least the four documents: the will, the power of attorney, the health surrogate form, and the living will. Those four documents have got to be done. We've got an arrangement here with an attorney where he does those for us, very reasonable, just so I can get my clients to at least get those four documents.
Sure.
You'd be surprised at the horror stories we hear. There was one situation where I had a young widow with four kids. Her asset was a piece of property in another state, which was titled only in her husband's name. And so it took her, and she had no money, no income. It took us, I don't know how long, for her to get that 500,000 out of that piece of property when they could finally sell it.
Yeah, no, there's horror stories into infinity and beyond
Oh,
when it comes
yeah.
to lack of estate planning documents, and unfortunately, it is the thing that you cannot take care of the day after you need to have had it taken care of. So it's a
No.
priority, and I'm sure many times, John, you talk to somebody and it's like, yeah, we can help you improve your financial situation. We can get you better rates of return. We can lower risk. We can lower fees. Those kind of things. Uh,
Mhm.
but the highest priority for you right here, right now, today, take care of those legal documents. That's got to be done.
Well, yeah, but it's like you said, I think one time before, is the Superman theory. Everybody thinks they're Superman. I'm not going to die. So
Right.
I've got plenty of time to take care of this, but we never know when our time's up.
Yep.
And so we need to be ready. I got to tell you, I just went down the other day with my attorney and reviewed everything, went through all of my documents, all of my will. And I mean, mine's very complicated. So I wanted to make sure that we had everything right and it was ready, because I never know.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
every Superman runs into kryptonite eventually, right?
that's true.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Peter, the thing about it is, people out there listening to me and seeing me, they probably say, that guy, he's so old. He must not have done a good job because he has to work. And I got to tell you, I really don't have to work. I'm doing it because I love it. I work with my son, my grandson. I don't know what I would do if I was at the house, because I do what I want to do now anyway. And so, we're going on vacation soon. It's a great life. I love it. And I do it as more of a mission than anything else. I mean, I could quit anytime I wanted to.
It's your family time there. I mean, you've
Yeah.
created a bit of a legacy there within the business, passing it on generationally. And
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic thing. And we've talked about before, retirement's not for everyone. And John, in your case, maybe not for you, at least not right now.
Not right now.
All right. Well, this list, I think, for those who are retirement minded, is certainly worth taking a look at, and you can get it by going online, gulfcoastfinancial.net. You can give a call, 386-755-9018. If nothing else, get you thinking about all of the steps that you need to take in order to prepare for retirement. And as always, if you need help with any of those steps, John, you and your team there to provide that assistance.
Well, that's right, Peter. We'd be more than happy to. And folks, we'd love for you to get these listed. If you want the financial plan, we'd be glad to work with you. If you want our financial focus book, we'll be glad to send you that. We put that together first of the year. and we'll be glad to send that out to you if you'd like that. Everything around here is financial focus.
Lots of resources there at Financial Focus and at Gulf Coast Financial Services for you to take advantage of. Pick up the phone, give a call, 386-755-9018, 386-755-9018, or go online, gulfcoastfinancial.net. John, always appreciate your time. Thank you for being here to provide the guidance that you do.
Thank you, Peter. Great to be here. Have a good week.
Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and tune in for more financial focus by visiting GulfCoastFinancial.net. The information presented on this program is provided for informational purposes only, without warranty of accuracy, completeness, or suitability for a particular purpose. This program is not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or tax advice. This information is general in nature and not specific enough to be construed as advice. You should not make any decision based on the information presented on this program without independent consultation with an appropriately licensed professional or competent advisor. Investment in securities or the market involves a potential risk for loss of principal. Trading, therefore, may not be suitable for all listeners. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing company. Withdrawals of growth from annuities may be taxable as ordinary income in the year it is taken. Individuals should review contracts for specific details of the product's features and costs. Early withdrawals may subject the owner to penalties, fees, or taxes. John Kuykendall is registered with and securities are offered through Kovac Securities Inc., member FINRA SIPC, found online at www.kovacsecurities.com. Advisory services are offered through Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc., a registered investment advisor in Florida. Gulf Coast Financial Services Inc. is not affiliated with Kovac Securities Inc. or Kovac Advisors Inc. Past performance is not indicative of future results. All investing involves risk. Investment decisions should be based on your own goals, time horizon, and tolerance for risk. Due to various factors including changing market conditions and/or applicable laws, the content may no longer be reflective of current opinions or positions.